for your section. And to get started, we'll have the students. One more recognition, State Representative Norma Chavez in the back. If that is it, we will get started. Student, come please ask your question.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Erica Wong, and my first question is for Tim Bethel. Okay, I understand that it will be like you as our future congressman. One of your plans would involve gathering all the key players in the law enforcement and national security communities from both sides of the border to optimize our partnerships and forge new ones. How exactly do you plan to promote this level of cooperation and to protect our borders?
Well, first of all, thank you for the question. I also thank the folks here at Burges for holding the floor. Kudos to all the dual credit students. Thank you. And kudos to all the dual credit students for putting together this forum. To answer your question, I think one of the things that I think is most important is that we learn to work together on both sides of the border. We do have some cooperation, but we don't have enough cooperation between the law enforcement communities on both sides of the border in order to tackle the violence that we see currently in Juarez. Every day we read about something that happened over there. A policeman was shot just recently again. We've had a number of incidents where stray bullets have hit buildings over here and on this side of the border. And I think what we need to do is to, instead of having just border conferences and inviting guest speakers from outside of the country to come and talk to us, what we need to do is actually talk to the people that have their boots on the ground, the people that have their lives on the line, and ask them what's going on. I also want to mention that I really am behind what President Calderon is doing over in Mexico. I recently read that he is considering trying to eliminate the need for local police forces and try to go ahead and create a national police force. And I think that would be a very positive step, something that needs to be done, something bold that needs to be done in order to help tackle this problem of not only just the violence, but also the corruption within the system. So I definitely would like to work very closely with our partners over there, whether it be the federales, whether it be a national police force of some sort, that would be set up by President Calderon. I think that's one of the things that we must do in order to tackle this violence. Thank you.
Okay, my second question is, on your website you said that you don't agree with the healthcare reform. Can you explain why?
Well, as a registered nurse, I take it very personally what's going on with our healthcare system. Of course, I believe that we do need to have some sort of healthcare reform because we do have a number of people here in the El Paso community that are uninsured or underinsured. And I know from a very personal standpoint, what the heartache causes for that, okay? When I worked at Sierra Medical Center recently, I've had patients in there who could not afford the procedures that they needed to have done and the care that they needed to have. And I understand that definitely, but the thing that I disagree with the current healthcare system that was put in place by our current congressman is that there's so many different things that were hidden in that particular bill. For instance, there was a 3.8% sales tax that was placed in that bill for new home sales. That starts next year. Okay, and I bet a lot of people didn't know that. So what I'm saying is we needed to have some kind of reform, something focused on healthcare reform, okay? Not a healthcare takeover, which is what we ended up getting, okay? I think that Americans can best manage their healthcare by themselves without being told what they can and cannot have, okay? I also worry a lot about what's going on, with this healthcare thing, because what's going to happen is that the hospitals, the doctors, and the nurses are not going to get the reimbursement. They're not going to be paid as well as they should be by the government. okay? What happens is that these entities are not going to be getting the money that they need to be able to recoup their costs, okay? So what's going to happen is a number of nurses, a number of ancillary care providers like lab techs and so forth are not going to be getting their pay like they should be. The hospitals are going to end up needing to cut back on services in order to, just to be able to stay afloat. So it's a tough road already with healthcare, and I'm being told to stop. But thank you anyway.
Thank you. Candace, can you have time first to remind you that
I see that. Big, by the way. Thank you for that. That's really good. I appreciate it because some of these forms you can't see the cards, so that's great.
Now we have Vincent Perez representing Mrs. Reyes, and Mrs. West, please come ask your question.
Hi, my name is Julia West, and my questions are directed toward the representative for Sylvester Reyes. My first question is, would you please explain Congressman Reyes' plans to ensure the growth of Fort Bliss?
Sure. Now, I can give an introduction for 2 minutes, is that right? Okay, great. Thank you. Well, first of all, I just want to say thanks to the students and thanks to Representative Acosta for having us here this morning. And Mr. Seymour, thanks so much for your work. We can already tell by the quality of the questions that you guys have really put a lot of thought into this, and we really appreciate that. My name is Vincent Pettis. I am press secretary for Congressman Reyes. I work in his Washington, D.C. office. I graduated from Burges High School and went on to college in Washington, D.C. At Georgetown University, and I've been working for Congressman Reyes since about 2007. And so I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Congressman Reyes had wanted to be here, but he's speaking at a memorial service this morning for Mr. Chalo Garcia, who was one of his mentors growing up. He was actually the founder of the Canutillo Independent School District, and he's a big figure in the Canutillo community and had a big influence in the congressman's life. And so he had promised the family that he would speak at that event. But nonetheless, thank you for the opportunity to allow me to come here and talk about a few issues. First, I think something that's very important for young people. It was reported in the El Paso Times last week that El Paso has the 13th lowest rate for the number of high school graduates in the nation. And that's something that we should all be very concerned about. Unfortunately, at the state, education, particularly here at the high school level, is primarily funded by the state. But it's important that we have a federal representative who supports education and can do all that he can to get federal resources into our schools. Some of the ways that Congressman Reyes has done that in the last couple of years, and just most recently, has been with the Recovery Act. The Recovery Act that was passed in February actually provided $75 million just to local schools here in the El Paso area, $75 million. Most recently, about 2 months ago, we passed the Education Jobs Act that provided an additional $45 million to local schools. One of the other big issues for students is also college education and how are you going to finance a college degree. I know time is running out here, but Pell Grants has been another big issue, and that's something that the federal government does deal with. And that has been something that the Democratic Congress has been focused on for the past 2 years. These are all issues that are going to have a direct impact on your ability to afford a college degree and get a job in the future. Now, to address your question, no, this is the 1 minute for thing. Okay. What has he done for the list? Well, Congressman Reyes is a senior member of the Armed Services Committee. Now, what does that mean? Congressman Reyes sits on the committee that actually decides the funding levels for the Department of Defense. And that's something that's been very critical to our community. When Congressman Reyes